Tell all of your friends, the real ones and imaginary ones, to dust off their pretending hats because this week we will look at a study that shows how make-believe in the workplace can positively affect productivity, creativity, and problem solving. This is Shadûf.
Welcome to Shadûf, the place where business, research, and entertainment make a baby in your mind. And you will come to find you'll start to challenge business standards because you'll trust the data, but not from Star Trek, because that's a made-up character. Welcome to Shadûf. The sun has gone too long, let's start the show.
No, we're not. Yes, we are.
Okay. I didn't see the click. Whoopsie daisy.
We're here now. We're present. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shadûf podcast. I'm your host, Weston Smith, here with Head of Research Dustin Harding, and first announcement right off the bat, we have some sad news, but we also have some good news. The sad news is, unfortunately, that our fellow research scientist, Lauren Silva, has found herself a new home with a new company outside of Shadûf, and we will miss her very much. So, Lauren, if you're still listening, just say you'll remember me.
She knew she would find the right thing, and she knew in her soul, it was time to go. You know.
And it's like saying goodbye is death by 1,000 cuts.
Oh,
you know?
That's a good one, too.
You know? So just to clue everyone in, those are lyrics by Taylor Swift, or lyrics that someone wrote for Taylor Swift to sing in her songs.
That are on the internet now.
That are now on the internet. But our good news is we have with us Rachel Hansen that we'd like to introduce. Rachel, how's it going?
Hello, good. Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
to the podcast.
Thank you.
Rachel is a digital marketing coordinator at the Woodbury School of Business. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing that?
The digital marketing coordinator.
True.
You know what I mean?
So true.
Kind of
Forgive
a
me.
one-woman show. Thank you, Weston.
That's awesome. No, but that is, you do wear a lot of hats. You do marketing strategy, email marketing, and you're producing content for social media and managing all of that.
Yep.
We saw your reel.
Yep.
That was fun.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one that got a lot of views.
Really?
Kind of viral. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I felt kind of famous.
That's awesome.
So everybody follow at UVUWSB.
At UVU, say it again.
WSB.
At UVUWSB.
Woodbury School of Business.
Yep. On Instagram,
We don't
Twitter.
have TikTok.
Hey,
It is.
by the
That's
way,
the
we
exact
don't
same.
have data on this, but I've seen this pattern, and I've seen people do this, and it seems to be pretty successful. If you're doing a TikTok-related video, put that puppy on TikTok, and then upload the TikTok, so then you get the little TikTok logo on there. I really feel like it captures a lot of attention on other social media platforms.
It's so true. I've seen that.
I'm curious if it does better or worse if the logo affects it at all. Because sometimes they'll just take the raw file and put it on. But a lot of the trends are the same on TikTok and Instagram. The same sounds are popular. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
True.
interesting.
So this is what we're going to do. This is an experiment, a perfect experiment.
Okay.
So
It's going to be a future podcast episode.
Yeah, maybe a future podcast episode, at least a follow-up next time.
Yep.
Simple experiment. So we run 2 ads, one with the TikTok logo and one without. And we see which one performs better.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it.
Oh, it'd be interesting doing that on LinkedIn especially.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We will conduct that experiment, and then we will follow up and let you guys know what we find.
Research. Yay.
That's what we do. Okay. So today we will be talking about make-believing, which sounds kind of juvenile, but this is a really fun topic. Before we get started, we want to kind of define the difference between make-believing and just using your imagination. Because we hear use your imagination all the time, but make-believing is kind of a different story. And is there a difference there? What's the difference? So Dustin, maybe you can clue us in a little bit.
Yeah, so, there may be different ways to define make-believing, right? But what we see, actually the definition, Rachel, you pulled up the definition, right, Rachel? What did it say?
Let me find
The
it.
official definition?
Okay. Make believe. It says the action of pretending or imagining that things are better than they really are.
Okay.
So that's cool. I like that last part. But yeah, so imagination's part of make-believing, right?
But yes.
It's
But make-believing isn't always a part of imagination.
Correct. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that's an arguable point, but for what we're talking about today, that's going to be
Yeah.
the working definition.
Yeah.
Our definition.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
and specifically, we might twist that official definition. The way that we would like to see make believing is that it's imagining for fun, right? For fun, imagining something that isn't going to happen.
Right. So you can say, hey, use your imagination to figure something out. And so, and this is kind of how I see it too. Your imagination can be like a quick, like one-time quick fix. Oh, imagine, a way to work around this. Make believing is like, imagine for an extended period of time. It's an exercise, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we even use the word imagine, like, oh, could you imagine if I made $1 million?
Right.
But we never say, make believe
Hey, let's make believe.
if I had $1 million. Like even the word.
Yeah, okay, perfect example. So it's like make believe you had $1 million, and it's like, oh, I would go buy this and this and this. But if you're make believing, you're like what's the scenario? Someone put $1 million in your lap. What would be the first thing? Well, first, I wouldn't want people to steal it, so I'd go and hide it, and then I'd go to the bank, and then and I'd call up people who I needed help from to get, and then we'd figure out how to spend this. That's make believing rather than just like what would you buy?
Right. It's like more detailed and intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that introduction, I want to give you guys a scenario, okay?
Okay.
Kind of a scenario that I hope relates a little bit to marketing and kind of the things that appeal to some of our strengths, okay? All right, so here's the scenario. Some secretive elite faction, I don't know if it's part of the government or some conglomerate of really rich people, is assembling a team because they're privy to some knowledge that hasn't been released to the public, and they pull you in and they describe this whole scenario. Basically, what it is due to whatever sort of environmental shifts or changes, honey is no longer going to be made because bees are going extinct. There's been some sort of terrible catastrophe, and it's just killed off the population of bees, okay? Which is sad, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't
That
know how
would be
much you
sad.
guys love. I love honey.
Yeah, and I love bees. I want to be a beekeeper someday. That's like a dream.
Those guys are
That's
cool.
me too.
So this is
they're way
like
cool, right?
this is depressing.
So this is sad. But good news,
Okay, good.
okay? But good news, but it's a challenge, okay?
Okay.
Genetic engineers have adapted a way to alter wasps' makeup. We all hate wasps or hornets or whatever, that don't produce honey.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I want to be a wasp keeper
A
someday.
wasp keeper. Well, that's the scenario.
Okay.
They've changed the genetic makeup. They've created a new species by altering wasps in their nesting, their behaviors, and all of that. Whatever. I'm not a biologist by any means, so.
Can you
Genetic
give us more
engineer.
detail behind this science? Like, how would they do that?
Basically they pollinate just like bees, and then they take it back and they regurgitate whatever the honeybee used to do. Okay, so they've altered wasps. Like this new form of wasp actually produces a type of honey. It's not the same as honey, but it's close. It's close to honey, but it's something that they want to release. They have all these genetic engineers, and they have all these like lab farms that they're creating, and they've created it, but no one knows about it yet. But they just know that it's on the horizon, that honey's on its way out, and they want to implement this, but they need kind of a marketing team. And I want you guys to just kind of think, you're pulled into this elite team, and they need your help. Like, what would be some ideas that, what would be the challenges involved in maybe overcoming stigmas that wasps have?
Yeah. So I think one thought I have
Okay.
is you don't call them wasps.
Okay.
This is a different
Something new.
species.
Because wasps have a negative connotation, I
Yeah.
guess.
So it's a honey jacket or something like that, right?
Honey
Okay,
jacket.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
I like that.
Maybe that's still too close to like a yellow jacket, which people really don't like. But then the word honey is nice and fun, and so
And it has a callback to
has a callback.
Yellow Jacket.
yeah. So you get what is there, but in a more friendly way. So that's my first.
So
thought.
if you're sitting in this meeting and they're presenting this to you and you're wondering, why am I here? Like, what could you
let's do an experiment.
What could you offer? Yeah. Dustin would probably pipe up and he'd be like, we could make a study.
I totally would.
You would. I know you would.
My first thought, I like Instagram a lot, and I follow a decent amount of influencers. My husband
Okay.
makes fun of me. But the rawness of someone showing something for the first time that they're doing or trying, like, that's contagious. It's like, oh, I've seen that at the store, or oh, my friend told me about it and now they're trying it. Maybe I could try it. So I think
Okay.
that like human connection, showing people trying this honey or trying something for the first time,
Okay.
I think that could play a role in it.
That's a good idea. So like maybe like a series of videos, like just like, hey, for fun, we're letting people try samples of this and
Yes.
kind of get some initial
Yeah.
reactions
Yeah.
for just good engagement, right? Just to
Right.
pique people's curiosity.
And to get the feedback, because if it's good, they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, this is good. It tastes just like honey.
I
And
like
if it's
that.
bad, then we wouldn't be doing this. So it's probably good.
See, I like that. And that lens, like, because my thought was always like, I come from a video background, so I want to like, I'm gonna go get some cool footage of like the process of like showing this new species, and like we all love beekeeping, and it's so cool to kind of see the process of honey, and then cutting out the honeycomb and showing something that looks a little bit scientific, but also looks like, oh wow, this could be a potential trade for people to, to harvest honey or harvest this new form of honey. Maybe
Yeah.
we call it something different than honey. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I would you said a little bit of science. I would be cautious with pushing the science thing
See,
because people
yeah.
don't want to know that, oh, this is
Genetically
genetically
modified.
modified
That's true.
wasps.
Okay.
In your marketing, you'd have to do like focus on the other things that you talked about. I think like
The
okay, the
naturalness of it.
naturalness. Look, here's a farmer. Here's this honey jacket keeper. Like I don't know,
Right.
like pulling and doing this process and like focusing on. Yeah, we created these in the lab, but now this appears to be a natural process,
Right.
just like it is with bees.
And maybe talk about how we've consulted with some of the most expert beekeepers processes to make this efficient or something like that.
Yeah.
Or taking their training to help adapt this new format of beekeeping.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, exercise over. What
Okay, cool.
Cool.
what were you gonna
Oh,
say?
I was going to say one other big thing that I think that would be helpful is to get a brand, an already existing honey brand, to buy in.
That's a good idea.
So that people that already trust this honey brand and are buying into this honey brand, to them it's an easier step to go because it's already we already know this company provides honey, so this must not be that much different.
For our listeners out there and who've been going through this exercise in your own make-believe minds, let us know if you have any ideas on potential other challenges that we haven't thought of. But yeah, that's just thought we'd go through a little exercise of make-believing, something that would be kind of fun. It would kind of be fun to be part of that team, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, but let's get down to our study.
Okay, so we already kind of talked about make-believing.
Right.
But why are we talking about make-believing? We haven't really spent some time on that.
Right.
So first of all, I haven't asked Rachel this yet.
Yeah.
Weston and I, Rachel, let me just ask you.
Okay.
Make-believing. What are your thoughts with make-believing and the impact it might have on the workplace?
As an adult.
As an adult,
Okay.
is an adult. We're adults now, and a lot of
Right.
people think make-believing is for kids, right?
Right.
But should adults make believe? And if so, like, what's that going to do in the workplace?
I think adults probably yes, I think we should. But I think it's harder because we have grown up and we have to be this and have to go to work and that kinds of thing. But I could see how it could be beneficial. Have you ever watched kids play? Like, it's so fun to watch kids play. And it's like, how'd you come up with that? Like, why can't we be more like that? And I think that coming up with things from our imagination while we make believe could be beneficial. Like my thinking places are the shower and early in the morning, and I lay there and sometimes ideas come to me and I'm like, oh, more imagination than make believing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think getting fresh ideas like that is beneficial.
Yeah. But at some point in our lives, as we move into adulthood, there's this stigma behind make-believing.
Right.
And we stop make-believing. We may be highly imaginative, right, and try to keep that going. But, a good portion of us, just stop make-believing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone laughed at you condescendingly when you were pretending to be like your favorite superhero or something, and then you're just like, oh,
We don't do that
reality
anymore.
sits in, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to do that.
I'm now 23 years old. I should stop. Weston speaking from personal experience.
I'm traumatized.
I used to make believe I was a teacher. I would spend
Really?
hours in my classroom.
Oh, my kids do that.
Yes, teaching. My dad would bring home whiteboard markers and, I loved it. That was my thing. I make believe that I was a teacher.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's my kids all the time.
And I wonder if this is just this like idea that everyone's observing you and you feel foolish for doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you, like, when I'm in the toy aisle with my kids and I like pick up a fake sword, I'm like there is still an urge into me to be like, to wield it, like, and like create some stance or pose or whatever. And when I'm with my kids, I just do it just because, hey, I'm with my kids. I have an excuse, right?
But if you're by yourself in the store, you wouldn't do that.
It would not be socially acceptable.
No. Yeah.
Or, every time I go walk through an automatic door, there's a little part of me that sometimes my hand may actually raise up a little bit like I'm a Jedi. At least my fingers twitching like I'm using the Force, at least.
Oh, that's awesome.
But, I know that, so that's awesome to get your input there, Rachel. And I know Weston and I, we believe strongly in this. Actually, Weston and I, make it part of Shadûf.
We have.
We have.
Do you
For
really?
the past little bit.
Oh, yeah.
How did you
It's
implement it?
A little thing called Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, that's a big thing.
Which we just killed our credibility for half of our audience right there.
They're just like, oh, shoot.
Who are these guys?
I knew there was something with these guys, and now...
These guys call themselves professionals.
No, in all seriousness, we like playing D&D. We play with our team every other Friday or something, just to,
That's
This
awesome.
has fun origins. Dustin and I mean, we met a couple times before, but we really got to know each other by playing Dungeons and Dragons among some neighbors who were just like, we were just a bunch of young dads and just like, hey, for a guys' night, and we were super nerds, and so we started this small group and we had a blast. And so now that we work here together, we're like, hey, you know what we should do?
That's awesome.
So anyway, yes, we're total nerds. We totally are. But yes, we have fun doing it. But we thought that this would be a really cool kind of team exercise that could get everybody together and get their imagination juices going through make-believing.
Just to provide context for our audience who may not be familiar, Dungeons & Dragons it's very similar to a board game, but you're actually making decisions and playing as a different character. But it's fun because you're presented with various challenges and you have to play as that character and what would this character do in this situation.
As a team,
there's a teamwork element to it, very much so.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we do that.
That's awesome.
do that.
So don't make
Okay.
fun of us, Rachel.
I won't.
Okay.
I will not make fun of you.
We're a little sensitive to it.
Rachel's,
so just...
Rachel's like, this is the episode I come on to? Like,
Right, Rachel, where are you going? Wait, come back.
No, I'm still here.
she
I'm
knew it
still
was
here.
time to go. Just kidding. So anyway, but really got us thinking, are there benefits to make believing in the workplace? Even though a boss may say this is a waste of time, you're spending time on something that's just kind of for play, you should be doing something else, something more productive, right?
Right.
But are there benefits that could actually help you in the workplace?
Do they not see like maybe there's a long-term benefit or a more out-of-the-box ability that you're exercising?
Or even a short-term, in this study that we're going to talk about, we give, similar to the make-believe exercise that you just gave, Weston,
Okay.
we give people that, and then we see how that affects things short-term.
Yeah.
So this is something even in your day, you could say, okay, I'm going to need to be using my imagination, or I have to solve this problem. Let's have a little fun make-believing exercise right now. And we're testing now to see with this study if having a little make-believe exercise in that moment is going to help you then solve another problem. Change
Yeah.
the way you look at things.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was familiar with the way you set this up. I'm excited to kind of hear more about the results.
Yeah, because I haven't spoken to you about that. And
Nope.
Rachel's
new, so
she's new. She
I have no idea what's going on.
So Rachel is she's listened a lot to the podcast, so she
You know the drill.
She
Yeah.
probably knows
Yeah.
what's coming next. So yeah, let me. I'll describe a little bit on the setup of the study.
Yeah.
This was fun. Okay, so like most of our studies, this was an experiment where we put people in two groups. These were online participants, and we either put them in a make-believing exercise moment or a non-make-believing exercise moment. So for example, those that did not make believe, we asked them to do the following. Item number 1, please describe the first thing you saw the last time you walked out of your house. Item number 2, please describe the characteristics of the group of people you last interacted with. And then item number 3, please describe the last problem you helped solve. Okay? So these were
And
all...
just like, you just have to, all it is an exercise of remembering the last situation.
The
that you
last
were in.
thing, zero make-believing. These are all things that occurred, all things very much tied to life, right?
Real life. Yeah.
So in contrast, those that were assigned to be in this make-believing group, we asked them similar-ish questions with pretty big twists, okay? So item number 1, instead of walking through imagine the last thing they did walking through their door, they said, imagine you walk through a magical portal into another realm. As you walk through the portal, please describe the first thing you see. So
I would like to read those answers.
the answers are so cool.
That's fun.
So item number 2, imagine that as you wander through this realm, you start meeting its inhabitants. Please describe the characteristics of these inhabitants, right? And the last one, imagine that this realm is experiencing a major catastrophe that only you can help solve. What is this catastrophe? So it's kind of doing the same thing. In the first group, the ones that aren't make-believing, they were asked, what was the last problem you helped solve, right?
Right.
And so this one, though, it's this crazy, fantasy problem that doesn't exist, that they alone can solve,
Right. The situations presented to both groups have correlation to each other.
Yeah.
But just definitely provides that contrast of one group of people, their mind is working completely different than the other.
I would say harder. I was imagining who I was with last night and the door at my house, but then you threw these imaginative scenarios, and I was like, oh, what do I see? Yeah. I think you have to think a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something that you're creating almost.
Right.
Mentally, rather than just accessing recent memories, right?
Right.
If you ask someone, hey, would you like to go to an office and be presented with these wacky scenarios and have a meeting start off this way? Or would you rather just go through a humdrum kind of meeting by the numbers?
Yeah.
I think people would, even though their brains may be needing to work a little bit harder, people would be like, oh, I definitely want the first one.
That's true. Not some dumb get to know you thing, but where does your brain go when you're presented with this? Yeah.
Right. I want to hear some examples of the answers that people gave for some of these wild questions.
Okay, fascinating. I just had so much fun reading these. I'll give a couple of examples, okay? So this person, the first thing that they would see walking through this realm, they said, opening my eyes, the first thing I notice is how vivid and bright the colors seem. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore.
That's a movie reference to Wizard of Oz, Rachel.
I know that.
I'm just kidding.
I know that.
I know you knew that.
It's a classic.
I know.
Come on.
Okay, so then they're describing the creatures, the inhabitants of this realm. So the creatures here seem to be wary of my presence, but through the trees, I'll catch a furry tail here and there. Bright colors seem to cover their thick fur. They walk on 4 legs and 2. I don't know. They walk on 4 legs and 2.
4 legs and 2, so it's either or.
Oh, okay. Or 2. Okay, you gotcha. They are not human, nor do they seem like any animal I've ever encountered. Okay. And then the problem that they need to solve is they say, this realm is plagued like any other place with evil souls who enjoy causing pain and destroying beauty.
Oh, no.
That's so fun. I want to read a book about that.
I know.
But the other
seriously.
one's an answer to the other one. The last thing you saw when you walked outside of your house, it would be I saw my neighbor.
Yeah.
Here's my boring life. Okay, so one more example.
Okay.
So a forest, so the first thing they see is A forest with gorgeous god rays streaming through the branches and dust floating in the air that could almost be fireflies. The grass is a vibrant green with leaves strewn about. The bark of the trees would have its varying shades of brown with green moss, with maybe a birch tree here and there. A pathway could be seen as I walk from the portal. It's a light brown, slightly bigger than a deer trail, yet it could be seen as a worn-out trail, a path. Okay, so that's the first thing they see. So they're highly descriptive there. And then the inhabitants, they say, the first inhabitant I would come across would be a boy, stone frozen, stuck in a tree. After I help revive him, I come across an anthrofox in a peasant dress and a bonnet. She's a sweet little thing offering some sweet bread. As she can see, I'm nervous. So
Don't trust that. Don't
trust
that
her.
anthrofox.
The
That was a good one.
anthrofox will get you every time. so the problem that they solve, they say an evil mouse king has gotten a hold of rare magic stone that can turn everyone into stone. So
Whoa,
Cool.
there you go.
quite the problem.
Yeah.
There you go. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
They got into it. I loved that. So that was the first stage. People were either make-believing or not.
For the mere fact that people who took this survey and were asked those questions, for the mere fact that they put those details into the story, shows that they have a proclivity to it, that they want to do something like that, that it's fun for them, right?
They have an idea to start with somewhere,
Yeah.
something deep
yeah.
inside that was like, oh yeah, I could go here.
Rachel, you asked this earlier, like, where do we get these participants? We get these through Prolific Academic, and we pay participants a small amount of money to take this quick survey, right? Some of them are doing it for fun, as studies have shown, but they're doing this for money purposes.
Right.
And if they can get through a study more quickly, then that's all the better, because then they can move on to the next study and make a higher hourly rate.
Right.
So the fact that these participants are trying to move through the study, but they actually stop and they're like, ooh,
Wrote a paragraph.
I get to make believe?
Right.
Let me write this novel.
In some way, they found that it would be rewarding for them in their own mind exercise to put in these awesome details into the story. I love it. I think it's so cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, so that's like simple make-believing exercise. But now comes the point where we're like, okay, could this help in the real world? What we did was we tied this to a real world scenario. Now we're going to move on to this next stage. And this next stage was they were shown a picture of a hammock. They were put in this scenario. They said, now imagine you're on a marketing team at work and you've been asked to create a Facebook advertisement for the following product. And the picture of the hammock.
And this is the same scenario for both groups.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody. So they either make-believed or not, and then they were given this scenario with this hammock. And the
Okay.
task they were given was please describe the Facebook advertisement they would create.
Okay, so to keep the creative juices
Yeah.
or
yeah, so-
not, whether they knew it or not.
Right.
Exactly. So these two groups started the survey differently, and now they're asked to solve the same problem. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So this gives us a kind of fun way to compare these two groups.
See if it affects their approach.
To solving the problem.
Right.
So then what we did, we took that data, how they would go about solving this marketing problem. We started coding it, and we started looking at differences in the data. And this was all independent of which group they were in. We just started with, okay, let's look at the data, see what we can see from this, okay?
Right.
And one thing that kind of emerged was this pattern that some participants, in their idea, it was very concrete. They were using concrete thinking, whereas others were more abstract. When it comes to solving problems, a lot of times there's concrete ways to go about it, or there's abstract ways to go about it.
All right, so we have two terms that come from academic literature, and they are concrete thinking and abstract thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to kind of give a basic understanding of the difference between these two is concrete is more about the how. It's more about the details. Whereas abstractness is more about the why. It's more about oftentimes the end state.
Okay.
So here's an example of how somebody would solve this hammock Facebook ad in a concrete
Okay, so
thinking.
we're looking at a concrete example.
They said, I would say it's strong and secure. It's soft and compact. It's easy to carry and easy to assemble.
They're describing how they would do a Facebook ad for a hammock.
Yeah, so this is very much, they're focused on the how, they're focused on the details of this hammock,
The features,
right? The features of
physical
this hammock,
features, and
very concrete.
The tangible.
Right,
the
right,
tangibles.
right.
Yeah.
Another one, this one's kind of funny because they say professional photographs of models using the hammock with nice scenery, a statement about the brand, some good things about it, and where it can be purchased.
Okay, so the very visual things, directing people where to go, what to,
Yeah, that's very, okay, this step and this step and this step and this step.
Right.
Like simplified of
Yeah.
what they would do.
right.
Exactly. So here are some examples of more abstract ways to solve the problem, okay? So this was one participant, they said, it would be a commercial. A tired mom has in her headphones to relax while her kids scream in the back. The man's voice is saying to close her eyes and imagine a warm sun on your face, a hat covering your eyes and laying back in a hammock. She's transported to herself on a camping trip where she's in the hammock and her kid is playing in the back. Okay, so they're talking about transporting. So they were probably in the make-believe condition.
And
I'm
it
just
sounded like a
guessing.
story similar to
Yeah.
the responses. Like I could see it more visually.
Yeah,
It's playing off emotion. It's playing off of the sentiment, the feel.
Yeah,
exactly.
the feeling. Yeah.
So this is another one. Close your eyes. You hear the sound of birds chirping, the rustling of leaves, the wind touches your face. Keep your eyes closed. You've now fallen asleep inside your new hammock, right? So these are all just very abstract. It's focused on the why, the experience.
Right. And just to clarify, because some people might be, well, leaves are tangible and the sound that they make are tangible things. But that's not concrete thinking. What it is thinking of using the sound of leaves and these emotional triggers, the wind and the sun and the glow of the sun, the feel of the sun. They're using these as triggers to convey what the hammock can bring to you.
Yes.
So they're not describing physical things. They're approaching it with a very different feeling rather than the actual.
This is what it is. This is what it does. This
Yeah.
is where you can buy it.
Right.
Yeah. This great color and very sturdy, and
Yeah.
you know,
Let's go through
it's
the
features.
waterproof, and
Right.
you know, they're not going through those features. They're describing an experience.
Right.
Yeah.
What we know previously from prior research is abstract thinking, as you can probably tell from these examples, tend to be more creative thoughts.
Okay.
Right? There's this creativity and abstractness connection. These answers are more creative, okay? What we found in the data after analyzing this is that those that make believed before having the marketing scenario, they had these more abstract thoughts toward the scenario, which is really cool.
That is way cool.
So they came up with more abstract, therefore creative thoughts in a realistic, like life scenario.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but because the participants are random, it's not necessarily like one group had a bunch of creative people
No.
and the other group didn't, because it was totally random. So it's just saying that with a little bit of make-believing exercise, potentially you can help people achieve this mindset and achieving these kind of creative.
More abstract
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. The other thing I love about this is that it's not saying that one's bad and one's good, because sometimes there could be a need for concrete thinking. Maybe you can figure out the right times to use this to get people in the right mindset or not.
I think it could totally help in the creative aspect of marketing because there is a lot of creative. You're presented with a problem and it's like, all right, where do I go from here? And I never think abstractly about it because it sounds like a scary word. But
Yeah.
in reading those responses, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, that is more abstract and make-believe. But it could help in a real-life situation.
Well, because we're pulling in more emotion, and you hear all the time that a huge percentage of people's buying decisions are made based on emotion.
Oh,
right?
yeah, totally. Emotions and thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Which is emotions.
You may have project managers or production assistants that need to be in a total concrete mindset in order to accomplish the task.
But even marketers, we don't always have to be creative and abstract.
Okay.
Right? There's research that shows the difference between a utilitarian product versus a hedonic product. So hedonic is more about pleasure. Utilitarian is all about purpose. Like this product has a purpose that will help me become more efficient, but hedonic is food for pleasure comfort,
luxury activities,
things like that.
Okay.
Abstract images tied to the marketing was really good for hedonic products,
Okay.
and not as good for utilitarian products.
really?
But then they saw the opposite for utilitarian products. It was the concrete images that performed best.
Really?
Yeah. If you're selling a product that has a specific function and it's made to do that function well,
How about a power saw or something?
a power saw, yeah, then maybe your marketing is focused more on those concrete ideas.
This is quality, this is sturdy, we used this type of construction. It has these safety features, and we're going to list all of this stuff out, and we're going to go item by item and tell you why you should buy this product.
Exactly.
Versus soda. We were talking about soda earlier. A Coke commercial. She drinks it and it's like all of these things. I'm feeling happy thoughts and happy music and the
Abstract,
emotion behind it.
The why, that's what you're getting after with those hedonic products, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I love this. A really good overall perspective on approach to various challenges that you may find within a company, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking to boost creativity in your company, maybe try to find ways to play Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, sorry, I let that out there. Try to find ways to make believe. Let's break that stigma that's there. Let's make believe as adults. Let's
Play a little.
Play a little.
It's okay.
Think like children. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That is some awesome food for thought and so much to dwell on there. If any of you guys out there have any thoughts or anything you'd like to add, definitely email us, info@shadûf.org. Ask questions. Tell us what you think about this study. And we'd love to hear that. That's where we'll end it for today, and we hope you guys join us for the next episode here on the Shadûf Podcast.
Boo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
The Shadûf Podcast is made possible by UVU's Woodbury School of Business. We'll give you interesting research knowledge that will help you in your business, or might just make you sound smart to friends and family. Thank you for listening.
Oi, mate, how's